Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline, and I have a fun show planned out for you tonight. My guests tonight are paranormal investigation team Apparitions Among Us. Before we get to them, though, we do have a few announcements, so here we go. My friends over at Wicked Cat Clothing, spooky season doesn't last just a month. Shop Wicked Cat Clothing year-round to get your horror, paranormal, spooky, and Halloween apparel. Go to wickedcatclothing.com. Shop apparel and accessories now and save 30% off with the code FIRESIDE30. I also want to give a quick shout out for American Paranormal Magazine. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you go look it up. They just had their April edition come out. We do have some past guests that have been on our show that are featured in that edition, so make sure you check that out. We're also trying out this new partnership with Newsly. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE, where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Kristen. She is the host of the Paranormal Girl podcast. She is doing a series on demons. So I believe this next episode coming out is on exorcism. So it should be very interesting. I'm going to play her promo for you.
Have you encountered something you can't explain? Do you believe in the paranormal but haven't experienced it? Are you a skeptical believer too? My name is Kristen, and I host the Paranormal Girl podcast. My show is an education in the paranormal. Join me as we explore a different topic each season and dissect origins, theories, experts, and so much more. Whether it's life after death, cryptids, ghosts, or any other paranormal topic, we will pull it apart and put it back together again to fully understand it. If you're a fascinated skeptic, a believer yearning to know more, if you're looking for an education in the paranormal, I'm your Paranormal Girl.
All right, so make sure you all go out and subscribe to that. Give some love and support that way. I really do love the way that the podcast community, especially the paranormal podcast community, is very open and welcoming and friendly, and I've made some really cool contacts. If anyone out there, if you have a podcast that you want to promote, you want us to play the intro, or your promo, send it to me. Reach out to me, talk to me, my email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll promote your show too. I think it's fun. I think it's something we don't see enough of in the world, and just love and supporting each other. Jumping into today's featured story, it actually comes in from Amy.
My name is Amy, and I'm from Wetzel County, and I live on Gamble Run, which is the ghost of Gamble Run. It's a haunted history in West Virginia. And apparently a gentleman was mugged and killed on the road I live on. So there's actually a haunted graveyard behind my house. And I live in a triangle of graveyards in the middle of it. And the graveyard that's in the back, the haunted one, you can actually see lights there at night. I've caught pictures of people, actual footage of faces, people talking.
So you're getting people, like pictures of people actually in the graveyard?
Yeah, I actually have pictures I have faces that I've took. I go up there, we've heard whistling. It's really, really, it's crazy. It's crazy, it's cursed. So you don't remove anything from the graveyard. You cannot take a rock. You can't take a stone. You can't take anything out of it. If you do, it will come and get it. You will have stuff break and fall in your house. Trust me, it's happened. My boys have taken stuff out of there, like stones, like old glass that they found in there, and brought it down. And our lights fell off the ceiling. Oh yeah, it's bad. Tables have broke. Yeah, you don't take anything out of there. You don't. You leave even the leaves. You don't even take the leaves out. You don't pick flowers out of there. So, but it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, and then I'll tell you another story from a, a hospital from up there in Tyler County. I always said what the name was. The hospital's over 100 years old, and when I started working there, I told them that there was a little boy in the room, and they didn't believe me. And I said, I see a little boy at the end of the hallway, and his name is Timmy, and they didn't believe me. And one midnight shift, I was, you could hear running down up and down the halls, and I said, don't you hear that? Well, the nurse said, oh, I don't believe it. And I said, oh, Timmy, I said, show her that you're real. And the things started, the hand sanitizers were knocked off the wall. And she heard stomping across in front of the nurse's station. So, yeah. And this all on camera. Yeah. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. So that's just some of the stories.
Thank you so much, Amy. And if you want your story to be one of our featured stories, make sure you reach out to us at Fireside Paranormal Podcast at gmail.com. You can either record yourself saying it and send that in, or you can just type out your story and we will read it for you. This is a really good time to let you guys know Sarah and I are going to be doing a Fireside short over the next couple weeks, one of the episodes. And I asked a question on Twitter, is your workplace haunted? So if you have any haunted workplace stories, make sure you send those in, because Sarah and I really want to add it to the Fireside short that's coming up in just a couple weeks. So make sure you send it in time for us to add it to the show. All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Apparitions among us, Allison and Bobby Stubblefield. Hey guys, you with us?
We're here. We just want to say thanks for letting us get on your podcast. We've been really excited about this opportunity, and we look forward to telling some pretty cool stories and seeing where this goes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to having you guys on too. We had some good conversations on, I think we connected on Instagram, talking back and forth about the groups and what you guys do. So tell everybody out there who you are and why you do what you do.
So I'm Bobby, my wife's Allison. We are, a husband-wife team. No one else is really a part of it. Every now and then we have a few friends that come along.
Or people at locations who want to just hop in. We don't mind some extra people.
Absolutely. And we've always really been connected to the paranormal experiences. I know myself, I really become interested in it at a young age, watching stuff on TV like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. I grew up watching it, and it's really always piqued interest with myself.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I kind of told you a little bit about how, I grew up having paranormal experiences and seeing ghosts and spirits and whatnot. So it's kind of just always been a part of my life. And then when I started seeing, the ghost hunters and stuff on TV, I was like, whoa, you can do that? You can go ghost hunting? That's what I want to do. So when I became an adult, and then we've been married for 5 years this year, I was like, let's start a paranormal team, just me and you. It'll be fun. Let's do it. And so we did.
That's awesome. Absolutely. That's awesome. Now, what types of places do you go to? Are you hitting more the, I don't want to say commercial, the pay-to-play type of places, or are you going into residential places? What is your favorite?
So we do go to the places you have to pay for, but then we also try to go to local places in in our county, local counties or whatever.
Okay.
We would be open to residential places. We just try to be careful with where we go.
Absolutely. We just don't want to, end up in someone's home and kind of either make them feel uncomfortable about what we find,
right,
or, just uncomfortable with us being there in general. It's just kind of one of those things we kind of stray away from unless it's someone we absolutely know.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Where is your favorite place that you've investigated so far?
I would have to say the Oldham Theater in our hometown. They don't really let people come. They've had other investigators in the past, but I don't know. I feel a weird connection with the spirits there.
Yeah, really? Absolutely.
And they're not always, I guess, in a communicating mood.
Right.
However, I don't know. Like I always feel drawn to go back there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we always have really good experiences while we're there. There's always a few of the like workers that stay with us, and they actually get to participate in some of the stuff, and that's always fun because it's them and not closing up, and they'll hear something and they'll get scared, and so we can go back and show them like this is kind of what we're feeling, what we're seeing, and they normally come out of there feeling a lot better about the situation, and that's always a good thing.
Yep.
It's nice too when you have the workers there with their firsthand, experiences too. I think that really livens it up. I did an expo just a couple weekends ago at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, and one of the guys that was, I don't want to say working the room, kind of making sure everything was plugged in, moved, and you know what I mean? He's somebody that works at the prison. And I was sitting down and talking with them, and they have one room. They are you familiar with that? I know you're not in town. Have you ever heard of the West Virginia State Penitentiary?
I've heard of it, but I don't know any of the history or anything.
Okay. Well, they have one area that is supposed to be like the most violent section, right? It was like their indoor gym, their little rec room. And it was, from what I understand, more of a unsupervised area. So a lot of violent stuff happened down there. They do a haunted house now, in the season, and that room is decorated as well, that part of the building. And he said that they have people that come through, they have smoke machines and all that. He said people will go through and they're like, wow, like the people that you had staged in that room down there scared the crap out of us. And he's like, we don't have anybody in that room.
And you see that a lot, really, is you hear of places trying to put on an artificial, scare rooms or, haunted homes. And, the places themselves may actually be haunted. And like that, typically when you get that activity going on in there, like people getting frightened, it seems to actually bring out.
Because you can feel that energy.
Right. And it seems to bring out like the actual spirits that are there. It's definitely something that happens a lot. There's a place not far from here that used to do a haunted home. We investigated it about a month ago, maybe
in Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about Wartrace. So they did a haunted home, and Allison had went, and tried to go inside, and she was kind of like had a terrible negative feeling about it.
Well, it's like, I don't want to come out and say that I'm like a full-blown medium. That's something that I'm working on.
I was going to ask if you felt like you were sensitive to all that.
Yes, we both are. But like, so multiple times, in like back when I was in high school, a long time ago, my boyfriend at the time, we loved to go to like haunted attractions and stuff like that. And I mean, like we would just every weekend we would go to multiple a weekend. And so we went to one that was like not so good, and we were like, oh, well, let's hit up this other one. And it was the Walking Horse Hotel in Wartrace, Tennessee. And we pulled up, and it was sketchy at best, because it's like a really old building. And I mean, they had not. I'm pretty sure it was empty at the time, and the only thing they did was the haunted house. And I couldn't even bring myself to get out of the truck to go inside. Like something would not let me go in. I felt the worst negative feeling, and apparently they were playing real life exorcism tapes in a room in the hotel, and according to the owner, people were legitimately getting possessed or mounted, as some people call it, in a kind of way.
Wow.
And so I kind of think that was my own, spirit guides or whatever, kind of telling me, hey, you don't need to go in there.
Right.
As my dad would say, deep down in your deep downs, you knew it was wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, when you say that there's a place is it a theater that you're drawn to there, have you personally, because you're sensitive to it, do you see things as well? Have you ever seen the spirits?
So sometimes I see things in person, or I like to say like out loud, because it looks like a person in front of me.
Okay.
That's very rarely. Like a lot of times it's more like in my mind's eye, and I can like picture what this person looks like or whatnot. The only thing that I've ever seen there is okay. Help me explain this. We have captured 3 main voices,
right.
2 men and a woman. And so the theater used to be segregated.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that until we went to investigate it. But I mean, like we've grown up here, and I've been in that theater 100 times, and I've always felt a little off about it. So when we found out it was segregated, and we started like hearing these voices come through. The first thing I will describe this person to you. I saw a black man in my mind who was bald, and he was elderly, like an older black man is kind of what I saw. And then there's like a young guy that I see. I said there's one, but these are the people that I see. A young guy, and then a woman. And I'm not the only person that's seen that woman there.
Yeah.
Several of the employees see the woman. But I only see these people there, like, in my mind's eye, if that makes sense.
Okay, so just like a strong impression that they're there? Or how would you explain that, your mind's eye?
Maybe like a flash photo.
Yeah, like
okay.
in my head. Like I can, like when you visualize something, you know what I'm talking about? Like, okay. Like I know some people can't do this. Like you visualize a red ball in your head.
Think of an apple. That.
Yes.
You know, that's how you see
okay. That's what I see. And sometimes like I'll drive down the road and I'll see this like random image in my head, and I'm only assuming that like I sound like I should go to the psych ward. I've been checked for all of that actually to make sure that I'm not crazy. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. Now, Bobby, she said you're sensitive as well. Do you also see things?
I think mine's more as far as like feeling the energy around me. I'm very good at reading a room.
I would say he's more clairsentient, like the knowing.
Right. Like I would say like I don't get the images like, or like I don't see stuff, you know, in front of my face very often. Now there's many times that, you know, I saw what I would assume was an apparition, you know, but as far as me, like I'm better at like, you know, I can walk into a room, I can tell you the energy in the room, I can tell you like, you know, most of the time I know whether or not it's a negative energy, positive energy. I'm really good at picking that up.
Okay.
By the way, I would also say I'm pretty good at telling like whether or not a spirit is, you know, going to be more of a residual energy as opposed to a, you know, intelligent energy.
Without equipment, I would say.
Right.
Okay.
So
now, do you feel that helps you during investigations?
I think it definitely does. I know that.
I think it does. I think that we might investigate a little differently than other people because of that.
Right.
How do you mean by that?
Well, it's like I'm very science based. Like I feel like we both are very logic and research based, but at the same time, like we have these sensitivities, I guess, and that I guess aids us in our investigation. Whereas like other people who don't have that, you know, it's strictly like their equipment.
Right.
Only.
Okay.
Right. It kind of helps us like know where to set up too. Like you know, when we walk through places, a lot of times, like, even if they're telling us, like, one spot, you know, like, you know, a lot of times, like, I'll say, hey, I don't really feel much in this spot. We'll check it
I
out.
feel like we let spirit lead us to where we need to go,
Right.
and then we use our equipment almost, I guess, as like
reassurance,
like
a
verification.
confirmation. Yeah.
All right, so it's almost
like-
you have like an unfair advantage, right?
Well, I wouldn't.
Maybe.
I wouldn't take it that far, but
Have
we
you ever?
definitely, like,
Go ahead.
even if like we're in a place and the person walking upstairs like, this place right here is, this is it. This is the area, and I, even if I don't feel that, I still check it
out
just to make sure what I validate what I'm feeling. And there's every now and then you're off. I'm not saying I'm 100% on it, but for a lot of times it does coincide with the way I feel.
Well, I think too, like, this can lead into a different conversation, but like I think that people misunderstand ghosts and spirits and the dead and all that, and so they think that it's supposed to be like a certain way, and so it's not always like that.
Right.
Like people's idea of how mediums or spiritualists are supposed to act or do or whatever, it's not like that the majority of the time. Like Hollywood has really screwed it up.
It's not all Hollywood.
by all means, kind of explain kind of your take on all that.
So I would say, like, definitely, I mean, you see it. We see it in movies. We see it, even in some of the shows, you see some of the people come on and, they're questionable at best, I would say. And it's just like they put on more of a show.
Right.
As opposed to an actual, you can, like, we've seen people who have interacted with spirits in very strange ways and very powerful ways, and that's something that's not deniable. Like there's no, like, anyone sitting there seeing that person, that's not deniable. Like you can't write that off as they were acting that out. And I think that's a big issue, I would say, in the paranormal community as a whole, is like, people see these mediums and what have you on TV, and they think that that's the way it should be. And a lot of people, I would even say, get discouraged because they think that what they're feeling isn't right because of how someone acts on TV.
It's like, for me, I grew up with so many paranormal experiences, and I would ask people, when I got older and started branching out, to different ideas and stuff like that, and more spiritual people and people who were supposed to be mediums or intuitive people, and I would ask them, like, hey, is this how you see things? Like, am I seeing this the right way? And they would never really give me like a straight up answer, or it would be like something you would see on TV where it's like they see, yes, like I see people sometimes, but it's not like I'm having a conversation with somebody in front of me like it's Bobby.
Yeah.
Or like it would be you. It's like I see a flash of a person in front of me and then they're gone. Like they're not going to hang around, or they don't want me to see them.
Or you may hear like one word, but it's not out loud. You just...
Sometimes I hear stuff out loud.
And you do, but like it doesn't necessarily have to be out loud. Like sometimes it's just, you have a random word that just pops in, and it's like, where did that come from? And a lot of times that is spirit or whatever's there trying to communicate in the only way that it knows how, or the only way that it can.
But you see Hollywood, and they're like, like you see people having full blown conversations with ghosts out loud, and they could see them, and I'm not saying, look, I don't know anybody that can do that, and I know a lot of mediums. Okay, I'm not saying if there's somebody out there who's listening and they can do that, like, I would love to freaking talk to you, because that's amazing. But I have never experienced like that, and I don't know anybody else that has. But so that's what I mean, like, but I feel like it's a little bit misrepresented. But I guess the spiritual intuition kind of side of things.
Right.
Now, when you hear things out loud, like, is it something that like you're hearing kind of with your gift? Like, is Bobby hearing that too?
There's times where we both pick up on stuff. Like, we'll be sitting there and we're like, oh man, like one night, the Spooky Pickle.
What now?
It's a little place in
Gallatin, Tennessee. It's a little antique store, and it's on the land that used to be the Rosemont plantation. So the Rosemont house is right across the road, and so this little antique store used to be on that land that was all the farmland, I guess.
And did you say it's called the Spooky Pickle?
Yeah,
That's like the nickname
yeah.
paranormal community gives it around here, the Spooky Pickle, because it's called Pickled Treats and Antiques.
Yeah.
So she has like canned stuff, and then she has antiques. It's really cool.
It's
probably been one of the most active places we've been.
Well, I would definitely say that's definitely one of our top ones for sure. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's we no shortage of activity there whatsoever.
Really?
And
Oh yeah. Well, like what you're getting into.
So like me and we went there. Allison and I had all of our stuff like charged up, ready to go, and we had just an awful time of trying to keep all our batteries, you know, charged and everything, and we just, you know, had a whole lot of like issues with that. So we were walking around, and we kept hearing female voices.
Really?
And we
like two women having a conversation, like out loud.
Right. And we thought that it was the owner and her friend that were there.
Because she said that, we'll be in the next room or whatever, if you need anything.
Right. So we go, and we're assuming it's just right on the other side of the wall. So like we write that off all night as being them. Well, at one point, someone come to the door and scared us to death.
So we went to go get her.
And so yeah, we stepped out this door to get her, and like there was not even close.
No, there was not it wasn't just a side room on the building. It was very, very far away. It was a whole nother building.
Wow.
Across the parking lot, basically. And like it sounded like there were, it's like a little shed with a warehouse next to it, kind of. And it sounded like there were people in the warehouse just having a conversation.
Yep.
And we thought it was them. But I mean, like we heard that out loud.
All night. And it was just like, you know, me and her both were just like, that's just them. Like, you know, that's just them. And then when we actually stepped out of that door and realized how far they were away,
it smacked us in the face
like
hard.
We were just like, there's no way. There's no possible way that was them. You know?
Well, I was mad at myself for just kind of blowing it off and then realizing like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like I can picture you guys getting like frustrated, like, God, man, I wish they'd shut up.
Well, yeah, and plus like we were on like the main road, so like there was a lot of, every time a car would drive by, we're recording at the same time, and we have like EVP and all that, and we're just like, hey, that's a car. Hey, this is this. Every time we'd hear somebody talk, we're like, oh, hey, that's just the owner. Yeah. And so it was just kind of like, God, we should have.
Yeah.
Did your recorders pick that up too?
Yeah, it come through, but you can like every time we said it, was like, hey, that's the owner, you know, like confirming, like just, you know, over it. So we would say like, hey, that's the owner. So like, you know, that we would know that like, this is not something we're just hearing.
That was one of the first investigations we did together. So it was like, well, we won't do that next time.
Right. Instead, like we make sure this time, like there's no possible way.
But going back to like hearing stuff not out loud, most of the time when sometimes I'll get like random like words in my head. And they usually mean something like, you know, I don't know, and maybe it's confirmation bias, I don't know. But like when I'm in bed at night, I hear people and it sounds like it's out loud, but Bobby doesn't hear it. So I know that it's not, but it's different voices. Like it's men and women and older people and younger people and accents and whatnot. Like and they say that happens a lot. And, you know, my mind's going a mile a minute all day, every day. And they say, like, when you lay down and you're calming down and, like, right before you're asleep, that's when spirits can communicate with you the most. And so that's when I hear them the most.
Now, have
and
you
it's
ever...
crazy, wild, off-the-wall stuff.
Have you ever investigated your own home?
So, no. The only reason we don't is because both of our kids, like, we don't want to freak them out.
Yeah.
Now, we've turned our equipment on in here, and typically speaking, we don't get much.
No, but that's because, again, I'm a very spiritual person. We both are, and I have, like, protection stuff all over the house.
Just in case.
Okay.
Yeah. But, like, my daughter has seen stuff before, and then our son, he has a spirit that's in his closet, apparently. He calls her Mimi. Don't know who she is. According to our spiritual elders, she's nothing to worry about. So we had a reading done on her. But
now, I don't know if y'all call this, because you're in Tennessee, right?
yeah,
Correct.
Okay, so in West Virginia, like my kids have a Mimi, and it's a grandma.
Right.
Yes.
It's a very.
Well, and I asked my mom if we had any Mimis, and she said no, and I don't think you did either.
I don't know of any Mimis either on my side.
Not anybody that we've personally called Mimi.
Right.
Now, how long have y'all been in that house?
It was
Since 2018,
Yeah,
and it was a
brand
new. Yeah, it's a new build. But
Okay.
we also know that, like, you know, spirits are also connected to the land too, and that's what we've had a couple friends say that they think that there's spirits connected to the land here.
Well, also something to think about, you know, is as you two trying to develop your own personal skills, that's opening doorways.
Absolutely.
You know, anytime you're
Which is why I keep the
dabbling,
house.
I think Bishop James Long says it best. You know, if you're jumping in the water with sharks, you know, one time you might get bit.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yep.
if you're dabbling and trying to work that end of it, you never know what might come through.
Never
Right.
do.
Right. That's I think too. On top of that, I think that because we keep our protection stuff pretty high, like on high alert all the time, and we both try to use discernment in who we're communicating with. I also feel like sometimes we don't get as much communication as other people might get.
Right.
Also, because, you know, we have a spiritual practice. We do like ancestral veneration and stuff like that. And we personally feel like, you know, they're there to protect us and like spirit guides kind of. And I feel like they do protect us from a lot of bad stuff.
Right.
Okay. Have you
If that makes sense.
have you what?
I said, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Have you had any bad spirits come through?
Well, when we first moved in, we had some, what was it? It was like, why did we get up that night? We got up in the middle of the night for some reason, and you heard like children laughing in our living room. We just moved in here, and that's been like a weird kind of out loud paranormal experience that I don't think is connected to like our gifts in any way. And the only other thing that's happened that's really freaked me out is now let me go back and say this. Like I hear footsteps in our house all the time.
Really?
Like especially at night when we're laying in bed. Like a lot of times, and this might have to do with my gift. But I can hear people talking in the other room. But sometimes I'll hear footsteps in our bedroom, like around our bed.
Oh gosh.
It's kind of creepy.
Now, Bobby, do you hear that too?
No, because he's dead asleep. No, he doesn't. No, I had to wake him up. He had to run and do something real quick. But like, I made him switch sides of the bed with me recently because I had like this weird, I don't know, half awake dream, vision, whatever you want to call it, that something was like crawling up into bed with me.
Oh gosh.
Now, I've had some terrifying dreams. Like, I mean, scary, like wake me up in the middle of the night crying or, you know, like gasping. But this was like, I felt awake and asleep at the same time. And it's like, I don't know if you have kids, like, you know, they say like my daughter, she'll just come into our room and just stare at us.
Yeah. I have four little ones, and yeah, my side of the bed is the one by the door, and I'll wake up with I scared my 7-year-old so bad one morning because he just like walked up, and I just like kind of reached my arm over. I thought it might have been the dog or something, and I felt an arm. And I just remember being in a dead sleep and just going, ah! Scream. And I like grabbed my phone and turned my flashlight, and he's just crying. I'm like, what? He's like, you scared me. I'm like, you scared me.
And that's what she does too. She's just like, I had to tell her, I'm like, girl, just grab my arm or something. Like, I'll know that it's you. So I thought that, this was before I said that to her, but I thought that I thought her and Bobby were playing a joke on me, because it was the most terrifying feeling. Like, it was like a weird monster. I couldn't see it, but that feeling of the kids climbing up in bed, but it was like a spider, almost like creepy crawling up into the bed, and I couldn't see it. It was the worst feeling, and I made him switch sides with me, and I had to take something to go to sleep because I was terrified. And I don't get scared, really.
No.
Not with that, because, again, I've grown up with it. And to me, if I don't experience something, I'm like, where are you guys at?
Right.
Now, Bobby, I know you had to step away for a minute. Did she tell you why you had to switch sides of the bed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when she woke me up that night, like, she was distraught, to say the least. Like, she was hitting me, and I, like, jumped up, and I was like, what is it? She was like, something just crawled up in the bed with me. Like, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't feel anything. She was like, I thought Lana was in here. And
Our daughter.
Yeah. And I was like, no, like, it's just me and you. And she was like, no, something just come in the bed with me. And, like, she was completely, like, just, panicky about it. So.
We still haven't switched sides.
No, I'm still on the other side.
I'm not ready yet.
Now, with the places you've investigated, tell me some more stories. Tell me some things that you guys have done.
Let's see. I know. So we went to Lynchburg, Tennessee. We went to the old funeral home.
It was called Lynchburg's Haunted Home,
right.
But I think that another paranormal group has kind of taken over the investigations or whatnot, and I think that they're calling it something else now. I think they're called
the old funeral home.
Old Lynchburg Funeral Home.
Yeah.
That place was weird.
It was. There was a lot of different energies in there.
But I don't know if you know anything about Lynchburg, Tennessee.
I do not.
That's where they make Jack Daniels.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. So we're right there, like 20 minutes down the road. And that place has a lot of secrets. Like they make Jack Daniels there, but there's a handful of people that live there, and they don't want anybody knowing their business.
Right.
And trying to get information and the history on that building was like pulling teeth.
And see, that's something else like we really enjoy about our like investigations is going out and trying to find the history of these places. And we're both really big into history, and just looking into the records of what used to be here, what's happened here, and like that's really a big enjoyment of ours about actually doing the investigation, the lead up to it.
So like for the Lynchburg funeral home, like the guy who was running the tours was like, you can't go into this room, you're not allowed to talk about the owners or who owned it before.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was weird.
Yeah.
Because it's public record. Like we went and looked at what it was some kind of history book in the library there, and it was right there who owned it.
I think there was like one copy of it.
Yeah, there's like one copy, period. Like in like the whole country.
Right.
I don't know. It's very weird, but they were really weird about their history. There was one room. He let us go in it, but we weren't allowed to record. And I'm 95% sure they were doing some.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about like demons and demonic stuff because I'm not like 100% sure on my beliefs on that. But I do believe in negative energy for sure.
Yeah.
And they were doing some dark stuff in there.
Right.
Wow.
Like,
did you see any like evidence
right.
of them doing things, or it's just like a feeling that you had, like a?
So, it was a feeling I had at first, and then we found out they used after the investigation. They used a thing, what they call it, like a demon box.
Demon box, yeah.
And it was basically, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but they talk about mirrors being portals.
I've heard that.
Okay, so what they did is they took like some little small mirrors and they made a box out of it. So it's like mirrors all looking into each other, and it looks like they posted about it, but I think the post is gone now.
Right.
I might see if I can find it and I'll send it to you. But they like tried to conjure something up in that room.
Oh, wow.
Which I mean, people do that in their spiritual practices, but like, I'm not trying to mess with that.
Right.
But I felt something touch my head, and we had the spirit box going,
Yeah.
and it said, I think we've got this on our social media. I was like, something just touched me, and over the spirit box you hear, it was me.
It was me, yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, it gives me chills thinking about it.
See, and we, that place was really hard to maneuver. I mean, it was pretty large.
They had a haunted house in it too, like a haunted attraction.
And so, like, it was a pretty large area, and it was really hard to maneuver just the way it was set up. And I mean, it was an old house, old funeral home. So, like, you know how some old homes are anyways. They're hard to maneuver around.
Well, they lived there too.
Yeah.
And then the funeral home was in there.
So we were trying to make it back to the embalming room,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really difficult to get there. Like
we like to investigate in the dark.
Yeah, we did.
Ding dongs, I guess.
And
yeah, you can turn a light on. It's
right. we like to try to be as scared as possible.
We like to get with the vibe, I guess.
So we finally make it back there, and like, you know, I feel like we walked around for 30 minutes looking for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get back there, and our EVP picked up somebody who was like, it said, finally they're here.
Yeah.
And,
like, we were talking about it, like, oh, where is this place? Like, where? Like, we kept taking the wrong door or whatnot. And then when we were going back, and once we finally got there, we were going back and checking our recordings and our audio and whatnot, and that's what it said. It was like a whisper, like, finally they're here.
Yeah.
That's like one of those things that, you know, you see that. I don't know if they fake it on TV, but you see that kind of stuff on TV, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, ugh, that has to be fake.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Why did they even put that on there?
Right. Well, and then a lot of people are like, you know, I just don't know how much I believe that. But then, like, when it happens to you and you get that for real, I was just like, jaw-dropping moment, because I was just like, this is the kind of stuff that you see them post about, like, on Ghost Adventures, like, or Ghost Hunters, or stuff like, you know, like Hollywood stuff.
And so you post that, and nobody will ever believe you.
Yeah.
No, and like I can let people listen to it all day long, but like, we were there, and we know that nobody said anything. Yeah. I mean, it's just the craziest stuff. I don't know. I love it. I just get so tickled to death talking about this stuff.
I've always said, you know, with the cynical world that we have now, you can have the absolute best evidence, you know, of any, but with everything you can do with photo and video and everything now, like, you could find Bigfoot, take a picture of him, videotape him running away. People are like, that is the worst hoax I've ever seen. Gosh, you didn't even try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Last time we were at the Oldham, when we pulled up, there was like 4 cops sitting outside. And
well, that's because they have trouble with teenagers.
Some of the teenage kids, of course. But so we got out, and they were all standing there, and they were like, "Oh, you know, it's you guys," you know, because
we live in a small town.
Right.
So when we posted something about, you know, a pretty prominent
location in
business, in our area, people around here freaked out. Like, they were just like, "Is this for real?"
Yeah. So the cops stopped us, and they were just like, you know, super interested in it. One guy was like, he was like, "Man, I watched all y'all's videos." He was like, "It's so awesome. Like, I love this stuff." He was like, "But like, is it real?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I'll pull out all the equipment we have here, and I'll show you how it works. And, you know, you can be your own judge, because, like, you know, you would see if we were making this, you know, REM pod light up, or you would see, you know, whatever it is. You know, I was like, and I can show you exactly how they work, you know, and I mean, other than that, like, you know, it's just whatever you think, essentially.
Well, that's what I like about our stuff, is that, you know, I watched some local paranormal investigators, and it just seems like put on some of the reactions, and like I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Again, it's like this has been my life, and it's just another day for me. So I can't just be like, oh my God, dude, did you hear that?
Yeah.
That would be fake, and I don't want to be fake.
Right.
Now, I want to get into as well. We talked before the show here about Waverly.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little?
Yes. And I'm not, like I told you, I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm not there with my hands in the pot dealing with all the stuff. But if anybody's listening that wants to go check out the Save Waverly Hills Facebook group or the SaveWaverlyHills.com website, basically what's happened is the Waverly Hills Historical Society has sued Charlie and Tina Mattingly for ownership of the building. Now, they're not saying that, but that's what's in the suit. So it's just a big bunch of mess. Unfortunately, we have not had the pleasure to go to Waverly Hills, and we refuse to go until the Mattingleys are back on their property. I mean, they're not even allowed
In their home.
on the property.
Wow.
Yes, it's really sad, you know. And so we suggest other investigators or people, period, who are interested to do the same, to not go until all of this is over. And, you know, check out Pac-Man Paranormal. They're the ones that are basically being the voice for the Mattingleys right now because they're not allowed to speak about it due to the lawsuit. And they're the ones that have really have pushed everything. So I would suggest everybody go and check that out. But
And I see there's
Hills,
a big thing on TikTok as well, right?
yes, Save Waverly Hills has a TikTok, and then there's a girl who used to be a tour guide there. She was I'm pretty sure she was fired because she supported the owners. She also has a TikTok called Support Save Waverly Hills, and she has I think over like 10,000 followers right now.
Wow.
And she posts a lot of information about it. But all that stuff is in our bio on our social media too, if anybody wants to look at it.
All right, so check that out. Save Waverly Hills.
Yep.
With your site, like, how do folks get up with you if they want to contact you? I know I always plug my Facebook group, you know, on the show, and you guys are a part of the Facebook group, Fireside Paranormal Hub, and I know you're pretty active there with it. But how do folks get up with you personally if they want to talk to you, if they have questions, if you know they want to learn more about, you know, Save Waverly Hills?
So they can get on our Instagram. It's AAU Paranormal, or our Facebook page, Apparitions Among Us. You can message us on there. We also have an email that's on all of our social media, aauparanormal@gmail. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, we're super responsive too. Like we try to, you know, if somebody reaches out with concerns, like we try to be as helpful as possible because we do know how, like, you know,
how scary
stuff can be, especially if you've got kids in the home, you know, or
you're not used to this,
or you're just not used to it. Like we definitely give like recommendations, you know, if it's not, if you're too far away, essentially, for us to come and help, like we give recommendations on, you know, how to react to things and try to help you out.
Now, how far will y'all travel?
I would say right now probably only a couple hours, and that's just because we have two small children, and it's really hard for us to.
Understandable.
Yeah, to go. Yeah, unless it's like a huge place like Waverly Hills, which is like 4 hours from us. If we got to get the mother-in-law to watch the baby when she's all better, and you know, we'll head out.
Exactly.
But yeah, as far as like residential stuff, right now only a couple hours.
Okay. So definitely check those out. Apparitions Among Us. It's fun. How did you get the name? Before we go, I do want to know. That's a fun name.
So we
I didn't want to be like Bobby and Allison Paranormal or something. Like I wanted it to be cool. So Bobby actually came up with the name, just literally like on the spot. Hey, what's that? Apparitions Among Us. And I literally was like, no. Like, that sounds so goofy.
Yeah.
And then I sat with it for a few days, and I was like, okay, that kind of sounds cool. And it's different. And it's like,
It is different.
I feel like it's not just, anybody can come and talk about it. It's not just the paranormal team.
Right.
It's not just about us. It's about everybody and their experiences.
Absolutely.
That's good. It's kind of all inclusive.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Very good. Apparitions Among Us, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you, and I want to keep in touch. Different
Of course.
Absolutely.
different
Yeah, definitely.
investigations that you guys have been on. As far as you're going through different locations. Check back in, and maybe we can highlight a few of the stories.
That sounds
For sure,
awesome.
yeah,
We would love that.
definitely.
Very cool. You guys have a great night.
You too. Thank
too.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
And with that, the fire is out. I want to thank Apparitions Among Us for joining us on the show, and I want to thank all of you again just for listening each week. I really do appreciate you guys. Make sure, if you haven't yet, to connect with me on your social medias. So on Facebook, it's Fireside Paranormal Hub. That is a great place to connect with, not just with me, but a lot of past guests are active in that as well. So it's a really cool way to connect with the show on another level. On Twitter, at Fireside Parapod, Parapod, TikTok, at Fireside Paranormal. And again, it's at Fireside Paranormal Podcast, I think, on Instagram. But connect with us on there. If you want to send a message to me that way, I will respond to you. I try to respond to everybody who reaches out that way. As far as the website goes, firesideparanormal.com. You guys might want to check that out. Go to that merch section. I actually released 2 new designs this week. One of them has the Fireside logo kind of in the background, and on top of it, it says, "Don't be afraid, only believe." And then another one was a listener requested design. A few weeks ago, I had written on social media that I couldn't believe that I said spooky dookie, actually on the show. And a lot of folks were wanting a spooky dookie shirt. So by gum, we got one. So what's funny is, just that offhanded, a lot of folks have been buying it already, and I just released it. So check it out. You get your spooky dookie shirt, or, the new Don't Be Afraid, Only Believe shirt. They are online at firesideparanormal.com. That is all the time we have for this week. So until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.